Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome in to this live edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us as we begin a new week in the National Football League. Week number 3, Thursday Night Football coming up tonight. We'll catch up to speed on the latest news and rumors from around the NFL in just a matter of moments. Also, we will do not one but two Q&A mailbags today. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. And we will have a reaction to the newest mock draft from CBS Sports. We'll show you what they had to pick and our thoughts coming up in just a matter of moments here on NFL Daily. As you guys file in and get this show started, shout out your city. Tell us where you are watching from, and we will shout you out and show you some love as we get this show started here on Thursday. And already I see people checking in the chat. Peter, we got other stuff going on, man. We're not on your schedule, okay? We're here. Deal with it. We'll get here when we get here. That's how it goes. We're here. It's been a busy day in the office, okay? You're getting plenty of coverage. Don't worry about it. Who else? Where's everybody at today? I got Brew Crew in Milwaukee. I got Dustin in Bonham, Texas. I got Bearded Niner in Albuquerque. I got Hammer Time in Alabama. Got Laura in Hamilton City, California. Juan Hernandez in Vegas. I got Robert in Birmingham. I got Juan in Vegas. David in Erie, Pennsylvania. Good to see everybody already checking into the show. Thursday Night Football tonight, Giants and Niners. Who wins it? You going with the G-Men or are you going with the Niners? The Giants come in as a big underdog. 10 points tonight. No Saquon Barkley for the Giants this evening. Tyler Smith, Smitty's in the house here with me tonight as well, as we're just over 2.5 hours away from kickoff for this one. Smitty, Giants certainly have their work cut out for them, taking on a very good San Francisco team that looks as good as any team in the NFL right now, and the Giants have been off to a slow start. If the Giants don't come out of the gates firing, this could get out of hand pretty quick.
Absolutely, but listen, there's some injuries on the San Francisco front as well. I don't believe Brandon Ayuk is playing. That eliminates a weapon for Brock Purdy, who is a guy who probably prefers to have weapons more often than not. So, listen, Giants backs against the wall. Couldn't be more of an underdog. I don't think a single person in America, even Giants fans included, think the Giants have a chance at winning tonight. So
no.
We'll see what happens. But it would be very cool to see him shock the world. I'm a Seahawks fan myself. Would be very cool if the Niners went down.
When they announced the schedule for Thursday Night Football at the beginning of the year, this sounded like a good game.
It's a great game. Great jersey matchup, by the way, too.
Yes, and then 2 weeks in, it's like, oh, wow, this actually might be a very bad game. This might be a typical Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Checking in the chat of the predictions. Lore saying San Francisco. David says San Francisco. Dustin says San Fran. David says San Fran. Juan Hernandez, Vegas isn't playing tonight. Bearded Niner says Bang Bang Niner Gang. Bro Thama, 68 says San Francisco. Hammer Time says San Fran. Let's see. Kerry says San Francisco. If the Giants win, it's rigged. You might be right, Kerry. All right, so a consensus. Almost everybody saying the San Francisco 49ers get it done tonight. Brian Burns, his name has been talked about in many trade discussions across the NFL as the Panthers, not a very good football team, a year removed from having the number 1 overall pick. They have a new head coach, new administration and everything. Brian Burns, he is looking for a new contract, looking to get paid. Carolina might not be the place to be able to pull that off. Will the Panthers trade away Brian Burns? Y for yes, in for no. What do you guys think? Weigh in the comment section and chime in and see what you guys have to say. Y for yes, in for no. Smitty, there was a lot of rumblings last year around this time about Brian Burns getting traded. That ultimately did not happen. He's still in Carolina at this point. What are the odds you think that Carolina moves on?
Well, we'll talk about this philosophy a little more in our news and rumors segment, but tired of teams that clearly aren't going to pay players just sit back and watch them rot away on their team for an extra season to get nothing.
Time wasted.
Time wasted. It's what it is. And for a guy like Brian Burns, who's already making a crazy impact this year, he's in the prime of his career, he could really benefit for him being on a contender sooner. It actually, it is more likely that he will not see the maximum payout in a contract by staying in Carolina. The success rate on that team is just naturally lower than if he got traded to, say, a Seattle or some team in need of pass rush that's trying at least to contend. Doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be the Bills or the Eagles or the Niners. But if he's on, say, a Ravens or a Seattle, something like that, greatly benefits his chances of either getting a large contract extension from that team or gives him a lot more exposure for a team elsewhere to create a big contract for him as well. So I don't like the fact that he's staying in Carolina right now. Should have been traded in the offseason. We'll see what happens when the deadline comes around.
Checking in the chat. Short says yes. Dustin says yes. Laura says no. Shorts, checking in from York, Pennsylvania. Stick Gorilla says no. Hammer Time says no. Robert says yes. Juan says yes. Robert, I am not Will Scott, believe it or not. I'm Tyler Jones. But thanks for being here. I'm not Jack, and he's not Jack Lotteray either. That's Tyler Smith.
No, I'm definitely not.
But Robert, thanks for being here anyway. I hate to disappoint you that we are not Will Scott and Jack Lotteray. So a lot of rumblings in the TMZ People Magazine world among the new power couples of the NFL. And these are speculation, but we are a rumor show. So with that being said, T. Swift, Travis Kelce, OBJ, and Kim K, who's the better power couple? Is it Travis and T. Swift, or is it OBJ and Kim K? Now, granted, we've been told they're hanging out in both these cases. Not officially official, but it seems like things are headed that direction on both. I think personally, Smitty, I mean, no offense, but Kim K's had her few run-ins with athletes like OBJ. I'm not surprised. Kelce and Swift, like that's a power duo right there. To me, that's your winner chicken dinner. I'm voting with Kelce and Swift here.
Yeah, I don't like to speculate on this stuff too much. Not really my cup of tea, but I will say, as somebody who unfortunately has grown up in this era, I kind of know most of Taylor Swift's past flames.
Okay.
And I do know that she has not dipped into the athlete community yet. So this is a first for her.
Right.
Breath of fresh air here. So yeah,
New territory.
Let me go with Kelce and Swift.
Okay. We've seen Kim Kardashian with several athletes over the years. I like the idea of Kelce and Swift. And then the story of when he tried to meet her at Arrowhead and she didn't want to meet with anybody, and he still kept up with it. More power to Travis. Checking it out in the chat.
Shoot or shoot.
Almost everybody saying Swift and Kelce. I'm not seeing one vote for OBJ and Kim K in the comments section, but that's funny. Good stuff from the chat there on that front. If you want to start the show, go ahead and like today's video. We have 62 people watching. We're at 10 likes right now. I need at least double that. Can we get to 20 to start today's show? Can the NFL chat get this thing going and begin here on NFL Daily? Because we have some really good stuff cooking up here on today's program. We're talking about, next in our rumor segment, about potential Kirk Cousins trade. Got an update what's going on with Jonathan Taylor. Also the latest on Tee Higgins. We'll discuss all of that coming up in a bit. Also later on, we're going to react to the newest mock draft from CBS Sports, their first-round mock draft, what they had. And we have not one but two Q&A mailbags today. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag segments. Super Chats get the priority. But the hashtag NFL will guarantee that you get on today's mailbag. So that is what is ahead here on this live edition of NFL Daily. 3 likes away from getting this show started. Robert Bruce says Taylor Swift as a beach house about, I think you mean has, a beach house about 20 minutes from me in Westerly Road. Very cool. You guys hang out? Dustin liked the video. Thank you, Dustin, for that. Let's see. 3 more away from starting the show. And our poll question today goes to our first topic. Should the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins? 54% of you say yes. 46% say no. And Smitty, as we're one like away from hitting our mark to get the show started. I'll say this real quick. I think that question, that's at the top of our poll question right now, is very contingent on how this Chargers-Vikings game goes this weekend.
It is very contingent on that. 0-3 is doomsday territory. There's a nightmare scenario that is sell the farm, get everything you can, stockpile draft picks, keep your elite players, i.e. Jefferson, Hawkinson, guys you're paying. And then for guys that you can get rid of, there's no reason to keep them around. The season's over. So there's no point.
Think about this, and then we'll get started here. You could potentially have either the Chargers or the Vikings. One of those two teams is going to be 0-3 this weekend. And the Bengals also have a chance to go 0-3 after this weekend. You could have one or two of those so-called contending teams before the season done. Their seasons are over with before they really even start. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get to our news and rumors segment that kind of sets the scene for what we're talking about next of potential trade destinations for some of these top players. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started with this live edition, NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones, Tyler Smith here with you. Let's get rolling. Yeah, play the intro. Then you don't have to edit it in later. Yeah. All right, let's get after it. News and rumors starting right now here on the NFL Daily. Jonathan saying, so then the Chargers should sell if they're 0-3. Yes, Chargers season would be over. If you are 0-3, your season is over at that point. You're not coming back from down 0-3. Too competitive for playoff spots with an 0-3 record. All right, now we good, Smitty? All right, cool. Here we go. NFL Daily starting now. Coming up today on NFL Daily, could Kirk Cousins be traded? We will discuss what is going on in Minnesota. Also, we have an update on the ongoing saga with Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis and Tee Higgins. He wants to get paid. Are the Bengals willing to pay him? We'll discuss that coming up in a matter of moments here on today's show. But first, a little challenge out there for our Chat Sports audience. Want you to sub to the channel for daily NFL news and rumors. We have live shows, Q&A mailbags, and more every single day here on NFL Daily. It's like it's the name of the show or something. I want to see, can we get 30 subscribers off today's video? If we can, we might be doing the Red Zone channel potentially this weekend. 30 subs off today's video. Let's see if we can make it happen. Subscribe for free today, and we'll get started. We begin with Kirk Cousins, a very familiar name to Cousins. His former teammate Kyle Rudolph, who previously played for the Minnesota Vikings, was on a radio interview with Fox Sports Radio this week, and he brought up the possibility, suggesting a potential trade that the Vikings could ultimately move on from Kirk Cousins. And here's the thing, before we show you what Kyle Rudolph says. With where Cousins' contract is and where the Vikings are at right now, it's almost a foregone conclusion to this point that Cousins isn't coming back to Minnesota next year. You're 0-2 right now. You take on the Chargers. You very well could lose that game. If you fall to 0-3, your season might be over. It might be time to start selling and stockpile for next year. More from Rudolph on the situation. I think it's worth a conversation. Kirk Cousins was brought to Minnesota to get them over the hump to win a Super Bowl coming off an NFC Championship game loss. The quarterback was supposed to be the missing piece that put a super talented roster over the top to win a championship. We're at this spot from the organizational standpoint. Where are you going? Why haven't you extended him? In essence, what Rudolph is saying is it hasn't worked out. Cousins is a decent quarterback. I think he's probably a top 10, top 12 QB, but they haven't had the results to justify everything they're paying him, and it might be time to start looking towards the future and tanking or whatever it may be to go find your next young quarterback. The Vikings don't win this week. The season is over at this point. And it will be time to start getting ready for the post-Kirk Cousins era at this point. That's what you have to look forward to. If you fall 0-3, you're done, I very well could see the Vikings be in a position where they make a move and say it isn't going to work out. So, with that said, let's show you the resume for Kirk Cousins. This is pretty fascinating. Only played in 3 playoff games in Minnesota to this point. 1-2 record. 1 playoff win to show for the hundreds of millions of dollars he's made there with Minnesota. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. Started his career in Washington, where he asked everybody if they liked that, and they didn't like him enough to keep him. In his 4 seasons, you can see the statistics have been pretty good. No one's doubting what Kirk Cousins has done when it comes to putting numbers up. That's never been the issue. It's winning football games. He's off to a decent start to this year despite the losses. Near 73% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, 700 yards. But if he were to move, let's say that the losing continues and the trade deadline is approaching, October 31st to be exact, there's one team in particular that everybody has their eyes on and potentially making a move, and that would be the New York Jets. Look, the Jets last year won a decent amount of football games without having good quarterback play. They might be in a similar boat again, where they're in a good football team without a quarterback, with Zach Wilson running the ship without Aaron Rodgers there. Maybe you find yourself where the Jets are contending for a playoff spot, but they don't have the quarterback. They come calling and saying, we want Cousins. Will the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins? Is that happening? Because he's not coming back next year. You could trade him now and at least get something out of him. Chime in. Tell me what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Our pinned comment today. Weigh in and tell me what you think. We got an update on Jonathan Taylor. According to reports, the price tag for Jonathan Taylor has dropped in recent trade discussions. The Colts did shop him, took some phone calls before they placed him on the PUP list to begin the season, but to no avail. Apparently, they were trying to get Jalen Waddle from the Dolphins. That wasn't going to work. They wanted a first-round pick. Nobody was taking the bait on that. So according to Stephen Holder of ESPN, this is what he had to say as far as the situation goes. The Colts want real value from any potential trade. It's why no deal got done in August. They asked for a package of picks amounting to a first-round pick, but the reality is they've settled for something a little bit less. We'll have more on Jonathan Taylor coming up in a moment, but first, today's show is brought to you by Odds Are, one of our newest partners here at Chat Sports. And let's go ahead and get this out of the way. When it comes to Odds Are, they don't take bets, but it's AI technology recommends the best bets you can make. The interface is incredibly sleek, and it's designed to be user-friendly. If you've ever been curious about sports betting or are looking for a more intuitive platform, Odds Are is your sports betting advisor in your pocket. NFL Daily listeners get 30 days for free. You can experience the magic for yourself. Dive in and bet smart. Go to oddsr.com/NFL Daily to check out what they are offering. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the lines this week on Odds Are. And what you want to look for on Odds Are is the green values. Green means go, red stay away from. And in particular, tonight, Odds Are seems to like the idea of the Giants as a 10-point underdog. Might just get that backdoor cover potentially from Daniel Jones and the Giants offense. Other odds that they like, the under in the Titans and Browns game. Titans offense isn't as great as I thought it would be. Under, that could be a very good play, 39.5. And then you got the Steelers and Raiders coming up on Sunday Night Football this week. The over at 43 looks to be the play that Odds Are is recommending. I don't like the Raiders' defense, so that could potentially make sense for the over to hit on that. Luck is not strategy. Odds Are is the place to check out all the best bets. And you can download the app. Terms and conditions do apply. Sign up now, oddsr.com/NFL Daily for a 30-day free trial. Back to Jonathan Taylor we go. And here's the deal. Bottom line is this when it comes to Jonathan Taylor. He does not want to be there. He has made that very known and clear, and you can't blame him for how dysfunctional that organization has been, having the worst ownership in the National Football League. If I'm the Indianapolis Colts, you don't want to pay him. He does not want to be there. Take the second-round pick and let the man free. Let him go. Let him go somewhere else. He's currently on the PUP list with that ankle injury. Should be there till week 5, and then he'd be cleared to play. And all signs point to that Jonathan Taylor is going to be fine, and he'll be medically cleared off that PUP list here soon. Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro, led the league in rushing and in rushing touchdowns back in 2021. A special talent as good as any running back in football right now. Now, one team I'm watching for a potential move is still the Cleveland Browns. I know they just got through adding Kareem Hunt, but we told you in this very program just a couple weeks ago, the Browns were hesitant on adding Kareem Hunt before the Nick Chubb injury because they felt like that he'd lost his step, that he wasn't the running back that he once was, that he's slowed down too much. And Kareem Hunt, in his entire time in Cleveland, has been a number 2 back. If you want Jonathan Taylor, adding Kareem Hunt shouldn't stop you from bringing in Jonathan Taylor. What are the chances the Colts trade Jonathan Taylor? Scale it for me 1 through 10 in the comment section. Chime in, tell us what you think the likelihood is that he gets moved. Lastly on today's show, speculation is heating up on the future of Tee Higgins. What is going to happen with his long-term plans? Does he get a new contract and stay in Cincinnati? Do they trade him? Does he get franchise tagged? What is going to happen with Tee Higgins? Well, here's an update from ESPN's Ben Baby on where things stand right now. Higgins did not receive a long-term deal this offseason. One seems to be unlikely. Cincinnati could be looking at giving Higgins a 1-year franchise tag for 2024 and exploring its options. The tag is projected at $23 million, according to OverTheCap.com. The Bengals could pay that amount to keep Higgins for 1 more year or see if they can find a team willing to trade for the top receiver. Now, one idea that we talked about earlier with Minnesota that I think applies here with Cincinnati as well is that Bengals very well could lose to the LA Rams on Monday Night Football. I don't think anybody would be shocked if they did because the Rams have played better than I think most people expected. And then that would put them at 0-3. At that point, season's over for the Bengals too. Even with Joe Burrow and everything, I think they fall 0-3. They're probably going to sit Joe Burrow, let him get healthy, and then you probably trade Tee Higgins to a contending team and go get a lot out of him. I mean, a guy that's just now entering his prime, you could probably get a first, a second, and a fourth for Tee Higgins right now. That's a lot, but you can probably get somewhere to that extent in a trade. So for me, that's what I'm looking at is Tee Higgins with the numbers that he's put up already with 3 seasons of over 900 yards and at least 6 touchdowns. Tee Higgins, I think, it's all contingent basically on how the game goes on Monday night. If they lose, Tee Higgins, I think, is going to be gone before the trade deadline. Predict it for me. The Bengals will trade Tee Higgins at the trade deadline. What do you think? T for true, F for false. What is going to happen with Tee Higgins at the deadline? Weigh in. Tell us what you think. Subscribe to NFL Daily by Chat Sports for ongoing NFL coverage across the National Football League. We got you covered. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time here on NFL Daily. All right. So, with that, we'll move on to our mailbag segment in just a bit. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag segment. We'll be bringing you here in a few moments. But right now, though, Tee Higgins, will he get dealt at the trade deadline? T for true, F for false. Dustin says F. Edward says true. I'll say, here's the other thing I would say. I do think the Bengals win Monday, though. And then they're kind of playing, on shaky ground of sorts at that point. If they're still fine, if they turn a corner from this 0-2 start, then I think you hold on to Tee Higgins and then you figure out his future in the offseason, whether that be tagging him and trading him or, if whatever it may be, you just kind of prolong that. But if they're out of the picture, if they lose this week and are out of the picture by the trade deadline, then I think a move's going to happen. Boomer says true. Robert says true. Smitty, what's going to happen with Tee Higgins here?
I mean, listen, they're not paying him it's pretty clear that they're going to prioritize after this Joe Burrow extension they just agreed to. They're prioritizing Jamar Chase, and that's plain and simple.
Right.
What you're going to have to do when you pay a big receiver like that is just simply draft a new one.
Right.
This is what you're going to have to do. The dog-eat-dog world out here. And Tee Higgins will be paid handsomely by whoever receives his services next season. Do I think that they'll get a first, a second, and a fourth? Probably not, just because it's an expiring deal.
Sure.
But I like to see. I mean, could you imagine this? I don't think Cincinnati would ever do this, but could you imagine if he went to Kansas City? They wouldn't do it. But like,
they need him too.
Imagine if he went to Kansas City, like
that wouldn't be fair for the rest of the league.
Would not be fair. Would not be fair. Because people forget, man. Like, Tee Higgins is way more than just a jump ball receiver. He works really well in the middle of the field. Great body control. Great ball awareness. Like, he's really good, man. Like, he's a multifaceted receiver, not just a vertical threat. Like, Tee Higgins is the real deal. Just happens to be there's a realer deal in Cincinnati on the other side.
Right. Well, in the case of Kansas City, let's say that he goes there. One thing, Smitty, that I don't think gets talked about enough is how much top receivers make their other teammates, their other receivers better. Like right now, Kadarius Toney's getting a lot of flack. I bet you the moment Tee Higgins walks in and the pressure's not on Kadarius Toney anymore, all of a sudden we probably would see a different Kadarius Toney. And if not him, whether it's Sky Moore or MVS, somebody else would see their play step up with having Tee Higgins taking the load off them.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how it goes with a lot of different players. I mean, think about how successful Jalen Waddle is in Miami, just for the sole fact. I mean, he is very, very skilled, don't get me wrong. But think about how much easier his life is because you cannot double him. You cannot double Tyreek Hill either. So those guys like that makes their job so much easier to have a true alpha number one receiver down wherever you are. Makes the rest of the team just play so much better. And that's why they're so valuable today. People finally realize that wide receivers are worth the big bucks.
Right. Michael says true. Brew Crew 878 says true. Renee says true. Robert says false. Boomer Miller is already recruiting Tee Higgins to come to Kansas City. Sept says, should they trade him? Yes. Will they? No. They make too many late playoff runs to do so. Definitely wouldn't trade him to KC in season 2. Mailbag coming up next. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions in. I see Dustin's already got a question in. Robert's got a question in. Brew Crew had a question earlier that I see as well. So with that, go ahead and keep sending in those questions. If you think of more while we're going through the mailbag, got any follow-up questions or you want to re-hit on an idea we've talked about, whatever it may be, keep sending them in as we go along in this mailbag. And if we run out of time, don't get to yours in this mailbag, we got another mailbag coming up later. So hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get those questions in for our mailbag segment. I want to see some more questions. Boomer Miller, send me a question. Who else? Whom else have I seen in the chat?
Brew Crew is going to carry us through this Q&A.
El Nano, send in a question. Peter, I don't know what you're talking about earlier about, I mean the Rams, not the Chargers. I think I was pretty certain the Chargers were 0-2. The Rams were 1-1. Let's see. Who else is in the chat? Keep sending in those questions. Hammer time, send them in. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat, and we'll react to them coming up on our mailbag. I think we have enough to get started.
Yes, we do. Death Valley, just throw hashtag NFL in that
comment.
In that comment. Recopy it over, and we can throw that on the show for you.
And, I'll say this, too. If you got something for Smitty, too, if you want Smitty to weigh in, by all means, send it in and let us know. We can get Smitty on the mailbag. So
why not?
If you guys, whatever you guys want, send it our way. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat. Question for Smitty or I, either one, let us know. Smitty's a big Seahawks guy, so he'd love to hear from some Seahawks stuff.
Yeah, if you have any Seahawks questions, let me know. I'll be the first to answer them.
Yeah. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I see plenty of questions coming in now. We'll get rolling with our mailbag segment. It's live edition. NFL Daily continues on a Wednesday afternoon. Tyler Jones and Tyler Smith here with you. We will continue now with our first of two mailbags today. Coming up later, we will have a NFL draft, mock draft reaction from CBS Sports to get to coming up in a bit. But, yeah, that's good. We'll go ahead and get going right now here at NFL Daily. It's NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here answering your questions. A great way to interact with the Chat Sports family as you guys join us for our live shows that we're doing on Tuesdays and Thursdays on the channel. I'm holding things down with Smitty on Thursdays. Tom Downey and Chris Daughtry are holding things down on Tuesdays. Join us for our live shows so you can be a part of our mailbags and get your questions in. Brew Crew 8788 with the first question this week writes in, hashtag NFL, how much of a hit to Dallas, the defense, is losing Diggs for the season after tearing his ACL? Brew Crew, very good question. You look at Diggs, this is a guy that is an interception machine, a playmaker, but with Trayvon Diggs, it's twofold, right? As good as he is when it comes to creating turnovers and doing all that, he gives up a lot of big plays, too. You get the good with the bad when it comes to Diggs. He reminds me a lot of Marcus Peters when he was younger in his career. I think I see that a lot in Diggs in that philosophy, that style. He'll be missed. The Cowboys certainly could use him, could need him, but this team is really loaded on that defense. They look like the best defense in football right now. I think they can manage. They can be okay without him. But it will be a setback. I think that it's early enough in the season they can still figure out how to go from here without him and be just fine. Elno writes in, how do you think the Panthers will do this week without Bryce Young? I'm going to be honest with you, El Nano. It ain't going to be pretty. Even if Bryce Young was playing, and at the time of this recording, it sounds like Bryce Young is doubtful, probably not going to play. Andy Dalton likely to get the start with the knee injury to Bryce Young. And I got to say, all signs point to this being an ugly game. The Seahawks got the bounce-back win they were looking for last week against the Detroit Lions. They look like a much better football team, and Carolina's just not very good. All the way around, that team has plenty of struggles going on right now. I think this game ain't going to be close. I like the Seahawks to win, and I like them big. This could be a runaway game and a great day for the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think it's going to go well for Carolina. Let's see. Next question in the mailbag that we will get to in just a moment comes from Death Valley. Death Valley wants to know, chances of New Orleans getting Devontae Adams. That's the pipe dream that I think Saints fans have been wanting ever since Derek Carr joined the New Orleans Saints. You know, it was Devontae Adams that wanted to pair up with Derek Carr when he joined the Las Vegas Raiders, right? It was leaving Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay to go play with his former college teammate. That's what attracted him to Las Vegas. And then things just didn't go well last year for the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr's in New Orleans now, and this has been thrown out, mentioned for a while. I would say the chances are slim. Devontae Adams is one of the best receivers in the NFL, playing at an incredibly high level. Even if the Raiders start a rebuild mode, you can build a team around Devontae Adams. Unless he wants out and says, I want to go, I want to get out of here, I don't see why the Raiders would move him. I would put it very low that he gets moved and he ends up back with Derek Carr joining him in New Orleans. Apparently I have a burner now. Interesting. Tyler Jones Burner writes, what are the chances the Patriots trade for Mike Evans? So the Bucs are starting 2-0. Baker Mayfield, who I love dearly, is off to a great start to this year. That Bucs team is better than I think most people anticipated them being. They're certainly going to be tested on Monday night when they take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Should be a very interesting ball game there. With that said, the Bucs right now are in contention. The Bucs are in position to compete, to make the playoffs, to win their division. I don't think that they're going to be sellers right now. Now, if things start to go downhill and go another direction, then maybe that's a different story. And then they look at selling Mike Evans because it doesn't look like his chances of getting a long-term deal are very likely with Tampa Bay. For now, I don't think he's getting traded. But if he were to get traded, New England, I think, would be very high on that list They're looking for a star receiver. Bill O'Brien wants a star receiver. Mike Evans is exactly what this New England Patriots team. What about the Patriots? Should they trade for Mike Evans? Put your GM hat on, be Bill Belichick, and let us know what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Should the Patriots trade for Mike Evans or not? Weigh in, tell me what you think. Folks, subscribe to NFL Daily for the latest happenings across the National Football League. Join us for our live shows. Get your questions answered each and every week using the hashtag NFL or super chatting here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. We have a great time talking about the greatest professional sports football league in the world. Turn on your notifications so you stay up to date what's going on. Robert writes in, if Tee Higgins is on the trading block by the deadline, do you think the Patriots should go after him? Robert, very good question. We mentioned Mike Evans. Now the Patriots in the same boat. I find that very intriguing for New England to potentially go after Tee Higgins for the same reasons that we mentioned with the Mike Evans situation. Now, here's the difference. If we're going to compare Tee Higgins for Mike Evans here, Tee Higgins is significantly younger than Mike Evans is, but I think he would cost a lot more. He might go for as much as a first, a second, and a fourth, and then you had to pay him as well. Mike Evans, later in the ball game, back into his prime and all that, you probably only had to give up a third or a fourth potentially. So, Robert, I think Belichick and Bill O'Brien want a top receiver. Both those options would be great, but Mike Evans is going to be the cheaper option. Tee Higgins is going to be the better option, more talent-wise and brighter future. So say what you want there, but I think New England will be happy to have either one. Today's show is brought to you by Odds Are, one of our newest partners here at Chat Sports. And let's make one thing clear. Odds Are does not take bets, but its AI technology recommends the best bets you can make. The interface is incredibly sleek, and it's designed to be user-friendly. If you've ever been curious about sports betting or are looking for a more intuitive platform, Odds Are is your sports betting advisor in your pocket. NFL Daily listeners get 30 days for free. You can experience the magic for yourself. Dive in and bet smart. Go to oddsr.com/NFL Daily to start your free trial today. Let's show you some of the bets that Odds Are is recommending this week. Coming up on Sunday, Titans and the Browns. Value in that game is on the under. The over-under set at 39.5. Maybe the Titans offense isn't so great after all. You want to look for the green on Odds Are. You can see that. Green means go, red means stay away. Meanwhile, the Carolina-Seattle game, value there seems to be on the over at 42. A lot of people probably expecting Carolina's offense not to look that great with likely no Bryce Young and going to Andy Dalton, but Seattle's defense hasn't looked too hot for the first couple of weeks. Maybe Carolina can put up more points than people think. Then Sunday Night Football, the Steelers taking on the Raiders in Las Vegas. Raiders' defense isn't that good. Steelers' offense, we're waiting to see Kenny Pickett and that group kind of unleash a bit. They showed some flashes on Monday against the Cleveland Browns. Let's see if they can do it again. The over-under there, 43, value on the over at, you can see 111 there, that green, because life's too short to bet the under. If you want to get your bets, want to find them, best place to do so is Odds Are. Luck is not strategy. Download Odds Are, create an account, terms and conditions do apply, and you can start that 30-day free trial now at oddsr.com/NFL Daily. Atlanta's is gaming writes in, if Denver fired their defensive coordinator, who should they hire? It's a very good question. Who should they hire as their defensive coordinator? Man, that's a very good question. I could tell you a lot of names of who they shouldn't hire. But one name I'm watching for in particular is what is going to happen with Gerard Mayo in New England. Okay, hear me out on this. Gerard Mayo is not the defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. He's not. He is viewed as kind of the de facto defensive coordinator, but they technically don't have one. Belichick's calling the plays there. And with as much as the Patriots are struggling right now, if Belichick's gone, Is it a foregone conclusion Gerard Mayo becomes that head coach? I don't think so. Maybe Gerard Mayo gets a call to be an actual DC somewhere, similar to like Eric Bieniemy when he didn't like his role with the Chiefs, so he went out to Washington to be an actual DC. I could see something like that. Gerard Mayo is a name to watch potentially, especially if he doesn't end up replacing Belichick. Brew Crew 8788 writes in, if you're the Vikings GM, do you trade Justin Jefferson? Hell no. You don't trade Justin Jefferson. You kidding me? No, you're not trading Justin Jefferson. Even if the Vikings lose this week and fall to 0-3 and start to rebuild and go a new direction and all that, you keep Justin Jefferson. You build the rest of the team around Justin Jefferson. You can trade Cousins potentially. You can trade a number of guys, maybe to Dale Hunter. But you don't trade Justin Jefferson under any circumstance whatsoever. Pay the man, keep him there. Drip Bayless. Oh, Lord. Patriots need help on the O-line. What about former Seahawk Gabe Jackson? Gabe Jackson dealt with some health issues for a long time. But if you're the Patriots, you have nothing left to lose at this point. You need all help you can. I don't see why not. Go ahead and give Gabe Jackson a call and see if he still got something left and if he can help you on the guard spot potentially. I don't think that's a terrible idea for New England. Speaking of free agency, who's a player the Patriots should add in free agency? Weigh in, drop a name in the comment section who comes to mind who you think should make their way to New England, and let us know. All right, so there we go. That is 2 segments down, 2 to go. We're halfway through this edition of NFL Daily. I know we had some more questions that came in, and as we were finishing up there, don't worry, we'll pick up on some of those in our next mailbag. If you missed out in the first mailbag, don't worry. We got a second one coming on the way. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions on the second mailbag that we'll be doing. So it's Yee Boy asking about Justin Jefferson for Caleb. We'll talk about that coming up in the next mailbag segment. So appreciate that. All right. So with that, the Mike Evans idea. Should the Patriots trade for Mike Evans? Smitty, we've seen Belichick has as good of a track record of anybody when it comes to veteran wide receivers and giving them new life or extending their careers or whatever. Mike Evans, that would feel like a Belichick move like he did with Randy Moss and Wes Welker and Danny Amendola and those guys. Like Mike Evans, I think him and that could be the thing that saves Mac Jones' career.
As far as Mac Jones goes, yes, absolutely. You could save his career. Mike Evans' career, we're looking at him through the first 2 weeks of the season, doesn't look like it needs saving. It looks like he's right back to the same player that he's been for his entire career. He has never not been an elite receiver in this league from rookie year.
9 straight seasons with 1,000 yards.
The only player to ever do that to start his career. He's never not had a season of 1,000 yards, whether it was Jameis at quarterback, Tom Brady, now Baker Mayfield. It doesn't matter for him. He's so good. Mike Evans will be, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's just going to be. And if he could be in a new situation that could even get him more accolades, we could be talking about Mike Evans when it's all said and done as one of the greatest receivers that ever lived.
Oh, no question. No question about it. What do you guys think? Should the Patriots trade for Mike Evans? Y for yes, N for no. Dustin says yes. Robert says yes. Okay, so the consensus seems to be yes, that he should go to New England. Robert also, by the way, I want to mention this, Smitty. He gave a little thank you to both the Tylers, me and you. So
I
Robert,
did see that.
Thank you for watching. Thanks for
Robert,
joining us, man.
The homie. Appreciate you, brother.
Much appreciated. Mark says no on a trade for Mike Evans to New England. It would be the reverse of the Tom Brady thing. All the Brady going to Tampa Bay. Now you see Brady and Gronk both, and then Mike Evans. That'd be something if it was that case. With that said, next segment, draft reaction. We will start it in just a moment. But before we do, Smitty, as I'm finishing getting set up here, Your thoughts this upcoming draft ahead? I know that we're only 3 weeks into the college football season, but I am very excited about the talent in this year's draft. In particular, the quarterbacks. This is the best quarterback class in years.
Crazy. This is one of the best, not only at the top, but it's a deep quarterback class. We could see up to 5 or 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. It's unbelievable the amount of talent that we have here. I mean, just look at the top. Caleb Williams is about the most pro-ready quarterback I may have ever seen in a college football game. Drake Maye, just an absolute gunslinger. Shedur Sanders, out of nowhere, just vaulting himself into the top 10 of some certain mock drafts. J.J. McCarthy, similar way. Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. Like, there's a lot of Riley Leonard from Duke. Like, there's a lot of elite quarterback talent that could be going in the first round of this year's draft. Excuse me.
Oh, absolutely. And one in particular that we're going to be talking about today is Shedur Sanders. And I don't know, Smitty, if I've ever seen a quarterback take the nation by storm in just a few weeks to the way Shedur Sanders has. Maybe not since like Johnny Manziel. Johnny got popular pretty quick, but that to me is amazing. Obviously his dad's a big deal and everything, but the way that him and just Colorado football as a whole has captivated the nation in a short amount of time.
Absolutely. I mean, when you get a captivating figure like his father, Deion Sanders, and then you actually back up all that crazy talk on top of it, you're going to get some eyeballs on you, and Shedur Sanders is doing just that. He looks so comfortable. I was at the TCU game to open the season, and Shedur Sanders looked ultra comfortable, far more comfortable than TCU's quarterback Chandler Morris. I mean, he looked like he'd been a 4-year starter already, just sitting back in the pocket, scanning, going through his reads, his progressions, and just playing like a baller, man. Like he really does play with a lot of swagger and a lot of confidence. So I like Shedur Sanders a lot.
I do too. With that said, let's get to our mock draft reaction. CBS Sports released their first mock draft of 2023. We will roll through it, and I'll share my thoughts as we go pick by pick. Robert says, thank you guys. Appreciate you. Robert, we appreciate you too. Thanks, man. We certainly are glad to have you here. Mock draft reaction time right now here on NFL Daily. Mock draft season is here, and with that, we bring back our mock draft reactions, where I get to stand here and I either get to applaud or ridicule the mock drafts that have been put together by the so-called experts. Today, we examine the newest mock draft from CBS Sports. We'll get to it in a matter of moments. But first, if you want your team to make the right pick, it's not too early to be thinking about April and who your team could be selecting. If you want your team to make the right selection, go ahead and hit the like button on today's video. Don't jinx it, so then when we go to April and your team makes a bad pick, it's your fault because you didn't like today's video. Don't be that guy. Don't jinx it. Let's hope your team makes the right pick, and we'll get started with today's show. The first pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, according to CBS Sports, no shock, Caleb Williams out of USC, and barring something absurd happening, he will be the number one pick, no matter who holds on to said pick. That pick from the Texans, by the way, from that Will Anderson trade last year. That puts the Cardinals picking back-to-back with the number 2 overall pick, taking Marvin Harrison Jr. out of the Ohio State. Williams and Harrison Jr. pairing up for what would be a lethal combination for years to come. Then we go to the number 3 pick. This is courtesy of the Carolina Panthers of the trade last year, where the Bears traded down from number 1 overall. And they get their quarterback, a replacement for Justin Fields, Drake Maye, out of North Carolina with this pick. So what about the Bears moving on from Fields and going this direction to Drake Maye? Josh Edwards at CBS Sports weighs in, said this: I do not think Chicago has done anything to give Justin Fields confidence, but he is certainly not playing like a quarterback with confidence right now. He's been missing open receivers, and the Bears' new regime did not draft him. And that's a very fair point when you're talking about him. I mean, this is a quarterback. You look at the situation. Think about this. If the Bears were to go to this route of, moving on from Justin Fields and going to Drake Maye, you would all of a sudden be going to a quarterback from North Carolina who wears the number 10? I'm not saying that he would all of a sudden be Mitch Trubisky, but it would give some weird feelings if that was the case. But I think once you look past that and everything here, we can sit here and say to ourselves, hey, look, Drake May is different than Mitch Trubisky. I think Drake May's got an incredibly bright future in the National Football League, and the Bears would get a great quarterback if Drake May were going to be their guy. Then the Bears on the clock again with their own pick. They go with Olu, the offensive tackle from Penn State, who's rated as the top tackle in this year's draft. And then at number 5, the Colts go with the edge position as they find Florida State's Jared Verse with that selection. So we're 5 picks in. The big one is the change with the Chicago Bears, replacing Justin Fields with that number 3 overall pick. What do you think? Will the Bears draft Justin Fields' replacement at quarterback this year, or are they going to hang on to Justin Fields? It's our pinned comment today. Why for yes, in for no. Tell me what you think. Do the Bears move on from Fields or not? Weigh in and tell us what you believe is going to happen. Moving on now, number 6, the Giants go receiver, get help that spot with Malik Neighbors from LSU. Number 7, the Raiders go quarterback, and they go with Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy, who, I'll be honest, I got concerns about J.J. McCarthy's arm strength to make the downfield passing throws you need in the National Football League. I'd be shocked if he goes number 7 overall, but that feels like very much like a Raiders pick. 8, the Commanders go tight end Brock Bowers, the best tight end prospect we've seen in years. He's been a star at Georgia for the last couple of seasons. 9, the Rams go offensive tackle out of Georgia, Amarius Mims with this selection. And then 10, the Vikings go quarterback. Kirk Cousins' replacement is found, and it is Shedur Sanders, the quarterback from Colorado, son of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. I got to tell you, this one caught me off guard. Josh Edwards explains. Year 3 of wondering whether or not is the year Minnesota moves on from Kirk Cousins. This year, more than any other, it feels as though a change is likely. Shedur Sanders has shown that he can elevate his team in big moments, which is exactly what the Vikings have been looking for. Now, Shedur Sanders, there's a couple things here. Small sample size. We've only seen him play 3 games at the FBS level, and we're already seeing him being projected to be a top 10 pick. Not saying he can't be, but it feels awfully early to already be making that declaration. And then the other thing, with NIL, I mean, he's banking there, right? He and Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter's not eligible yet. They're buddies. I don't know if he wants to leave him. And not to mention his dad being there. Even if he's projected to be a top 10 pick, I'm not sure that it's a foregone conclusion that he declares for the draft. I very well could see Shedur Sanders coming back to Boulder for one more year, one more go-round of sorts. What are the chances Shedur Sanders declares for the NFL draft? Scale it for me 1 through 10. What do you think are the odds it happens that ultimately he goes pro or not? Weigh in and tell us what you think. The best name in this year's draft, Kool-Aid McKinstry, the corner from Alabama, goes to Denver at number 11. At 12, the Bucs go with offensive tackle, the teammate of McKinstry, J.C. Latham, out of Alabama. Then at 13, another offensive tackle off the board, this time to New England as they go Joe Alt from Notre Dame. 14, the Titans go with Dallas Turner, the edge rusher from Alabama. 3 Bama players selected in the last 4 picks. And then at 15, the Jets, they wind up with a corner, that being Nate Wiggins from the University of Clemson at number 15 overall. So we're just a little bit less than halfway through the picks so far. We'll get to the next half of the picks in a moment, but first, today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time, one of our newest partners here at Chat Sports, is the place to go to get tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, and much more. Here's how it works, folks. You download Game Time, create an account, and use the promo code NFL Chat. You're going to get $20 off. A while back, decided to go to a baseball game at the very last minute. So what did I do? I hopped on Game Time, and I saw all the prices listed, was able to find the seat I wanted pretty quick, got to see what the seat looked like, and then within a matter of moments, I was paying with Venmo. Pretty cool, huh? And you can do the same too. You can have your tickets within a matter of moments and get $20 off. Free money, right? All you got to do, create an account, download, use the promo code NFL Chat, and you're getting $20 off. Sign up, download today. Terms and conditions do apply. Download Game Time, $20 off. Promo code NFL Chat. Create an account and sign up today and get your tickets to the best events around for the lowest price. Guaranteed. As we continue now, we shift to number 16 and the Green Bay Packers. Cameron Kitchens, safety out of Miami, ends up with Green Bay. Number 17, the Steelers, going with Kinsley Suamataia. Probably got that wrong, but he's a pretty decent offensive tackle from BYU. At 18, the Seahawks go quarterback. The eventual replacement for Geno Smith, potentially, Riley Leonard out of Duke. Riley Leonard put himself on the national stage with a big-time win a couple of weeks ago when Duke upset Clemson. And he played very well in that game. And Mel Kiper has him as the number 3 quarterback in this year's draft. So what about him coming to Seattle in the circumstance with Geno Smith? Josh Edwards of CBS Sports writes, Geno Smith turns 33 years old next month. Perhaps he is an option for the next few years, but the idea of a quarterback playing at a high level into their late 30s, early 40s is a myth unless that player's name is Tom Brady. The depth in this QB class allows them to land a player like Riley Leonard. That's fascinating, the idea potentially of Riley Leonard coming to Seattle. I mean, you look at that Seahawks team, and they are building for their future. And Geno Smith, his contract is kind of a year-to-year setup of sorts. And essentially what you could have with Leonard is he could sit behind Geno Smith, learn from him, and then take over potentially the year following after that. And I know that there's pressure on these quarterbacks to play right away. We saw it with Trevor Lawrence and most recently with Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and all that. But the recipe for success in the National Football League is still to sit your quarterback, let him learn how the NFL system works, and then they go out there and succeed. Patrick Mahomes went through it. Jordan Love's going through it now, and it's paid off for both those guys. So something to keep in mind for Seattle potentially. At 19, the Atlanta Falcons. They go receiver with Emeka Igbuka from Ohio State. Not quite as good as Marvin Harrison Jr., but a very good receiver in his own right. 20, the Chargers go with Jerzon Newton, defensive lineman from Illinois, with the selection, who is quite the playmaker himself. We've already named a couple of quarterbacks, quite a bit of quarterbacks after Riley Leonard. I'm setting the over-under at 4 for the first round. Granted, it's the best quarterback class in a long time. Do we have more than 4 quarterbacks selected in the first round? If you think we will, type O for over. If not, type U for under. How many quarterbacks get picked in the first round? Weigh in, tell us what you think. O for over, U for under. And we continue. 21, the Saints pick another Buckeye. This time it is JT Tuimoloau, the edge rusher from Ohio State. 22, the Texans with the Browns pick. Take an edge rusher as well, this time from UCLA, Lalitua Latu with the selection. 23, the Jags go defensive line, Mason Smith from LSU. 24, the Lions go corner, Kalen King out of Penn State. And then 25, the Bengals. I'd be surprised if the Bengals are picking 25. That means they turn things around from an 0-2 start. They go with Zach Zinter, the offensive lineman from Michigan. Then at 26, the Miami Dolphins, they go receiver. Another receiver? Tyreek Hill and Waddle there? Yes, they do. Keon Coleman, wideout from Florida State, stays in the Sunshine State. 27, the Ravens, they go corner, a white corner at that. Cooper DeJean from Iowa with this selection. That'd be pretty noteworthy. 28, the Cowboys, they get help on the offensive line. More protection for Dak as they go with Jordan Morgan, offensive lineman from Arizona. 29, the Bills. They go defensive line at Miami, Leonard Taylor III. And then, to wrap up the final 3 selections, The Eagles go with the best name in this draft, especially for his position. Chop Robinson, edge rusher from Penn State at 30. 31, the Chiefs go with a defensive lineman from Texas A&M, McKinley Jackson. And then the final pick of the draft, 49ers, absolute steal. They get Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver from Texas. How on earth did Xavier Worthy fall this far and still available at this point? Well, more from Josh Edwards. San Francisco's done a fantastic job assembling skill talent, but Bills are coming. If they can sign Brandon Ayuk to a lucrative contract, then it might cost them George Kittle or Deebo Samuel. Somebody's got to go, and then you see Xavier Worthy essentially line up as the replacement for one of those guys. I think Worthy's way too low. I think he might be the second best receiver in this draft, only behind Marvin Harrison Jr. I would be shocked if he falls to 32. If the Niners are picking him at 32, they're jumping up and down for joy because that would just be shocking if that happened. This mock draft had some weird stuff to it. Not going to lie, Xavier Worthy I thought was too low. Shedur Sanders, I think that's very early to already be calling him a top 10 pick. What do you think? Grade it for me. My grade, I'm going with C+. I think that's fair. Put a grade on it, A, B, C, D, or F, and let us know in the comments section what your grade is for CBS Sports' mock draft. Be sure to hit the like button on today's video. Get some good vibes going for your team to make sure they draft well coming up this April. And we will see you next time right here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Thanks for joining. All right. 3 segments down and 1 to go. Send in your questions for our final mailbag segment, hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions in, and we'll answer them coming up in our final segment, which is next here on NFL Daily. In the meantime, though, we are asking you guys, how many quarterbacks get picked? I set the over-under at 4 for that first round. And, Smitty, that number 4, I know I set the over-under on that. But so many teams need quarterbacks. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in this year's draft. I would, if I was betting that, I would lean towards the over. I think teams are more aggressive on paying and getting that young quarterback.
Yeah, and a big deal with taking the quarterback in the first round, and it's another reason you take the running backs in the first round, is because you get that fifth-year option, which is huge for as far as not as having to wait until that massive extension. Say your quarterback is a Burrow, is a Mahomes, is an Allen, gives you that extra year of wiggle room of being able to pay other skill position players before you have to kick in that max extension for the quarterback that essentially puts your team at a disadvantage as far as acquiring other talent. So I could see a lot of quarterbacks going the first round of next year's draft. I think 4 was a good line, though. I think it could push.
Yeah, I think so. How many quarterbacks? Let's see. Dustin says under. Brew Crew says under. Robert says over for how many quarterbacks get selected. Dustin says over as well. We are looking for your questions for our final mailbag segment. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the show. I see Dustin's got a question in. Laura's got a question. Robert Bruce, Brew Crew, among others. And some good questions coming in so far for the mailbag. And plenty others that we didn't have time for the last time we signed off from the mailbag. And I believe the last question that we'll pick up from of sorts, just to organize for you, Smitty. GM Evans, question about Diggs, that kind of starts the next line of questions from there. So, yeah, there's plenty of questions in there. We can go ahead and get started. This final mailbag segment, if you got any more questions, if you super chat, you get priority to get your questions answered first, and we'll break that down coming up here on NFL Daily. Q&A number 2, hashtag NFL or super chat to get on the mailbag, and we will get going after I take a little swig of water there and I get started. NFL Daily, live on this Thursday afternoon. Tyler Jones, Tyler Smith here with you. We will get started coming up right now. Smitty, we all set? All right. Let's get after it here on NFL Daily. It's NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here to answer your questions that you guys send us. Part of our live mailbag shows that we're doing twice a week. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions answered on the show. And I got to tell you, I love doing these mailbag segments. Great way to interact with you guys and gauge what the fans are saying across the National Football League. So let's not wait a second more and get started. Brew Crew writes in your opinion, who won the trade between the Bills and Vikings in 2020 that sent Diggs to the Bills for draft picks, which the Vikings used to draft Jefferson? Well, let's think about this. Okay, besides just the players, what have been the end results for both those teams? The Bills have not gotten to the AFC Championship game yet. Could change, but right now they haven't. The Vikings, they are still looking to get past the NFC as well. They have one playoff win in the Kirk Cousins era and all that. I would say this. On paper, the Vikings definitely won that trade because they got the best receiver in the NFL and a guy that's going to be great for a long time, and they can build their team around and all that upgraded from Stephon Diggs. But the Bills on their end, they got some immediate help. So it's not like that the Bills suffered because of this trade. Both teams, it worked out pretty decent. Maybe they didn't get the results of taking the step up they wanted to. But as far as the long term goes and all that, the Vikings definitely did. Jim Evan Hinders writes in, if Minnesota loses to the Chargers, should they tank for Caleb Williams? I think that Minnesota, I think the Chargers, and I'd say the Bengals are all in a pretty interesting situation. If you fall to 0-3, your season's over with. You're done. You're not coming back from being down 0-3 to start the season. So in the case of Minnesota, if you fall to 0-3, then I think you start to answer some phone calls. Maybe you're sending Cousins to the New York Jets. I don't know if you're going to be bad enough to be in position to get Caleb Williams. Everybody's going to easily say tank for Caleb, right? That's easier said than done. At the end of the day, the Cardinals are a whole lot worse than the Vikings are. Same can be said for teams like the Colts, the Texans, and others. I'd say the Raiders in that bunch. I don't think you're going to be in that position to tank for Caleb, but at least you could be in position to still get a very good quarterback there, Evan. Dan writes in, if the Cardinals do draft Caleb Williams, who do you think will trade for Kyler Murray, and what draft capital will it cost? Two teams come to mind in particular. I do think it's going to, even though you take on the contract, Kyler Murray could still be a franchise quarterback in this league. I like Kyler Murray. I think he can play at a high level. I think it's going to take a first-round pick and potentially more than that. With that said, the Atlanta Falcons come to mind. And he could be kind of their second coming of Michael Vick in a way. I think the New England Patriots come to mind if they don't like what they see from Mac Jones and all that. Potentially anyone that needs a quarterback, I think, would be calling for Kyler Murray to potentially be their guy and move forward with him. So, yes, Atlanta in particular is the first team I think of. Dustin writes in, here we go. Next question coming in. Let's see, we answered that from Dan. Bossman writes in, will Danielle Hunter get traded? If so, where will he get traded? It is all contingent, I think, on this weekend. If the Vikings lose to the Chargers, then it's a fire sale. Then they're shopping Cousins. They're shopping Hunter. Watch out for the Seattle Seahawks. Pass rush hasn't been too good for Seattle right now. Danielle Hunter could be exactly what the Seahawks are looking for. Don't sleep on that possibility, Bossman. I could very well see that happening, of them moving on and Seattle getting a pass rusher they need right now. Where will Danielle Hunter finish the season? Remember, he's only on a one-year deal. So although they gave him that new contract, that doesn't mean that he's staying around there long term. Where does he go? Chime in. Tell us. Give us a team. Maybe it's back in Minnesota. Maybe it's somewhere else. What do you think? Will Danielle Hunter stay in Minnesota or go elsewhere? Chime in. Subscribe to the channel now for the latest happenings across the National Football League. We're doing our mailbags twice a week. We're answering your questions each and every live show. And we have daily news and rumors, our Red Zone channel, all sorts of stuff. So go ahead and subscribe now for free. Turn on notifications. Stay up to date what's happening across the National Football League. We got you covered here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Subscribe now, and you will be glad you did. Death Valley, another question on Diggs. Everybody wants to know on Stephon Diggs. Or I guess earlier it was Justin Jefferson. Anyways, along the same line. Diggs' future. Buffalo. Barring some blow-up, and there have been rumblings, the Bills desperately need Stephon Diggs right now. Josh Allen needs Stephon Diggs. There is nowhere else to go. They need him there. They're not moving on from him. He is staying put unless something else explodes. Otherwise, he is going to be with the Buffalo Bills, I think, for a bit at least. Today's show is sponsored by Odds Are. Odds Are, one of our newest partners here at Chat Sports. They don't take bets, but their AI technology recommends the best bets you can make. The interface is incredibly sleek, and it's designed to be user-friendly. If you've ever been curious about sports betting or are looking for a more intuitive platform, Odds Are is your sports betting advisor in your pocket. NFL Daily listeners get 30 days for free. You can experience the magic for yourself. Dive in and be smart. Go to oddsr.com/NFL Daily. Some bets to watch this weekend. The over-under in the Carolina-Seattle game. Although there might not be Bryce Young, that doesn't mean Carolina's offense won't be able to score. Seahawks defense doesn't look too great right now. Over in that game, 42 value there. You want to look for the green. And there's more green in that Steelers-Raiders game with the over in that, 43. Raiders defense probably going to give up a lot of points. Could be a good bet there. Monday Night Football, Eagles and the Bucks. Same thing. We're talking offense there. Baker Mayfield, that offense is better than what people think. Mike Evans and company, they can put up points. I think it's going to be interesting. They should be able to go toe-to-toe with Philly. I personally think it could be interesting. There's value there. You can bet on all sorts of stuff by first finding out the bets to make with Odds Are. Go to oddsr.com/NFL Daily for your 30-day free trial now. Sign up today. Terms and conditions do apply. 30-day free trial now, oddsr.com/NFL Daily. Got time for a couple more. Robert writes in, Pats are in dire need of offensive linemen. Do you know of any good free agent offensive linemen? I think our next question was going to be pretty similar to this, Robert, actually. We talked about this on the channel this week. That's what it was. And Gabe Jackson, in particular, is a name to watch for. Don't sleep in the idea. Gabe Jackson, offensive guard, previously with the Seahawks. I know that if you're looking for offensive tackles, Eric Fisher's out there potentially. Patriots offensive line needs all the help they can get. Thanks, Robert. Dustin writes in, what do you think about the Chargers trading Cam Akers to the Vikings, and who won the trade? The Rams didn't get a whole lot. They get a 6th-round pick. Their future's in Kyron Williams. They believe he's the better back. Cam Akers wasn't a great locker room guy. The Vikings needed help in their run game. This is a situation where the Vikings are desperate. I don't think there's a winner in this trade. I think they're both just kind of are what they are. There's more potential, I think, for the Vikings to win this trade because of trying to turn their season around. But for now, there is no winner. Not so fast, my friend. Checking in, saying, is it time for the Commanders to trade Chase Young? What do you think? If they're not going to trade him, they need to do something. And I wonder, okay, hear me out on this, folks. Let's say if they hold on to him and they franchise tag him. Is anybody trading for Chase Young on the franchise tag? Do they want to pay franchise money for Chase Young? I don't know. So, with that said, I think they lean towards trading him. He's been cleared. He's healthy now. If he plays at a high level, and also kind of depending on how things go for the Commanders. I don't think the Commanders are that great a football team despite the 2-0 record. I think he's one of the top players in the trade block right now. Could they change their minds and pay him? Potentially. But it doesn't sound like that they're going to pay him long term. Might as well try to trade him and get something out of it. Will the Commanders trade Chase Young? Why for yes, in for no? What do you guys think? Weigh in and tell us in the comments section if you think there is going to be a trade here or not. Subscribe to NFL Daily for more NFL news and rumors. We got you covered each and every day on the channel. We'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right. We're just about done. Will the Commanders trade Chase Young? Dustin says yes. Alex says yes. Smitty, weigh in real quick. Chase Young are his days numbered in Washington?
I mean, it just seems like a situation where it just didn't work out.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't think Washington did too much wrong. I don't think Chase Young did too much wrong. I mean, injuries played a role. The relationship just didn't work out. And I think that a new beginning for Chase Young could greatly benefit him. And I think that just having the headache of missing on a number 2 draft pick still on the roster creates more of a headache for Washington. So I think, listen, the current regime did not draft Chase Young.
Correct.
They do not have any loyalty to him. He's a great player, and I'm sure they would love to keep him. But you got to pay him in a year. So I just think it'd be best if both parties just found a new home.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on that. And Chase Young wants to get paid. Commanders, not necessarily sure if they have the cash right now to make that happen. Subscribe to NFL Daily by Chat Sports for more NFL coverage. This is the place to be. If you're a big NFL fan, we are talking about the National Football League every day, and you'll enjoy being here with us. We will sign off. We will call it a night. Have a great rest of your weekend. Check out all of our Chat Sports channels. Me and Smitty, we're going to be live on Ravens to start off on Sunday, and then we're going to switch over to our Seahawks channel after that. So we get a double watch party day ahead. It's going to be a long day for Smitty and I.
Big day.
But I'm fired up because, we do stuff with both those teams.
Yep.
And if all goes according to plan, both of those teams should have dominating days. There's no reason why the Ravens shouldn't be able to manhandle the Colts, and the same can be said about the Seahawks and the Panthers.
That's the thing. I love a good competitive game, but I don't mind when it's a week where we should be taking care of business as well, and that's the case for both the Ravens and Seattle.
Yeah, so that's where we'll be. Tonight, our Giants channel's live, Niners channel is live for Thursday Night Football, and our Raiders channel, Mitch and Jeremy having a great time there.
They're just having a party.
Raiders Report. Yeah, they're just partying. So check out all of our channels for more team-specific content, watch parties all weekend long. Check out your favorite team, and we'll have you covered. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.